What is up, guys, and welcome back to a brand new video. Today, as you can see right here, we've got some F1 2017 gameplay provided by Codemasters themselves. Massive thanks to those guys. Without them, I wouldn't be bringing you this gameplay that you're seeing here today. Now, quick disclaimer, I'm very sorry about the lateness of this upload. I went to Sydney on Thursday to actually go and record some F1 2017 gameplay of my own, which you'll be seeing over the next couple of weeks. But I got this gameplay sent to me an hour, 2 hours before I was set to jet off to Sydney at about 4 AM, I think it was. It was, yeah, impossible for me to make the video, but I'm back home now, and the videos are going to start coming in thick and fast for you guys to see. So subscribe to the channel if you want to see all the F1 2017 gameplay videos that I have in my storage, ready to be published to you guys. But today we're going to be starting off with a 50% race around Japan. This is driven by David Greco, the the senior handling designer at Codemasters. For those of you who don't know, he's absolutely rapid on the F1 games. He has been in the Vegas E-Race in the last year. He's massively quick. To put it in perspective, he's on the same level as Harry Jacks, Noble 2909. You guys know him pretty well, and the amount of skill that he possesses, literally one of the best racing gamers on the planet. And David Greco is on that exact same level where he can just take an F1 car, and just drive it around a track and place the car exactly where he wants to, and it just looks absolutely effortless. Watching him in real life, it looks absolutely amazing. But yeah, I'll stop waffling about that. But here we are in Japan. You can see these are the new intro sequences. Beware when you upload your own F1 2017 gameplay. There's some graphics that you'll see before the start of every race. It's basically an identical format to what they do in real life with the FOM graphics before the start of every race. So yeah, just be aware about that. You will be given some copyright strikes. But yeah, the graphics, the intro sequences, and just the player faces of all the drivers look much more realistic versus F1 2016. In terms of the race strategy today, David is going to go on the mediums and finish on the soft compound tyres. Unfortunately, it's going to be a one-stop in terms of the recommended strategy, and if you guys know me, I absolutely hate one-stop races. But we're going to get this race underway, and I'm going to let you enjoy it without me talking so you can hear the game sounds. 5 red lights, and away we go. So there we go, that's the race start from David Greco. A little bit antsy from the AI there. They're all being very cautious. Just bear in mind that this probably isn't a full build of the game. This isn't the latest build. I'm sure that by the time the game comes out, fingers crossed the AI are going to be a little bit smarter than that. I really hate how the AI in previous games have been very tentative off the starts, and it makes overtaking very easy on the first lap. And it's not what you want to see, it's not what I want to see, and it's not really realistic. But so far, David, he's 18th place at the moment. I can't remember where he started, but I'm pretty sure he's lost places. I don't believe he qualified for this race, but he's going for a move up the inside of Pascal Wehrlein. I won't be talking throughout the entirety of this race. There will be momentary breaks where you guys can hear the engine sounds, but we're going round the outside of Wehrlein, turns to the inside now for the next left-hander, and that is 17th place for the taking by David Greco there. Very nice move. So yeah, he's got a lot of making up to do, and he's in a very slow car. So this is going to be a tough old race for David. He's going to be slugging it out for a long time to even get inside the points. But up the inside of Alonso, the McLaren Honda is very slow in a straight line. If you watch real F1, that carries over into the game. And I feel like Codemasters this year have been pretty harsh in the overall rating of the McLaren. It's very slow. Very slow in terms of its overall performance. It almost mimics that of the Manor from F1 2016. But I don't know, it's going to be very tough for my career mode, that's for sure, if that performance rating is going to stay how it is when it comes to the full version of the game. But we cut on to lap 3 now, chasing down Esteban Ocon in the Force India, which is much more competitive than 15th place at the moment. So yeah, I think maybe the car performance could be tweaked a little between now and the full version of the game, or maybe Esteban just had a shocking qualifying session. Either way, he's not where he should be at the moment. But yeah, just in terms of the gameplay, the 2017 cars, they're ridiculously faster than their 2016 counterparts. You're going to see lap times in excess of 2 to 3, 4 seconds faster around most tracks. So the cornering speeds are going to be incredibly faster than the last game, and you'll definitely notice it when you first pick up the game. Right, so I've decided to stop the video here and just analyze the engine management, power unit aspect of the game. This is just a basic rundown of how your parts are performing and how they're faring, and that's going to be very important over the course of your career mode, because they all wear at individual rates, and it's crucial for you to look after your parts and change them out when you see fit, once they start to wear beyond 50%, for example. Very important for performance as well, to make sure you have fresh parts on the car, and the way you drive as well affects how those parts fail and how long they last and all that kind of thing. So a really good addition to career mode this year, which you guys might not have picked up on if you're not a die-hard fan of the F1 series. We had a yellow flag through there. That was Sebastian Vettel going very slowly. I believe he had an incident with another driver on the previous lap. Meanwhile, David Greco, probably a little bit distracted by that yellow flag, ran in a bit too deep into the final chicane, lost the back end. Even with the massively increased grip of these cars with the wider tyres, you can still lose the back end sometimes if you go into a corner a little bit too fast, and that was evidence of that from David Greco, who I'm sure is running with no assists at the moment. But a bit of a sit rep on his race so far, sitting in P14 at the 33% mark, or 1/3 through the race. However you want to slice the pizza. It's ultimately down to you. But yeah, he's on the medium tyres. He's elected to really run long in this race, and come the second half, when he bolts on the option tyres, or the soft compound tyres, yellow wall, he will be absolutely flying through the field, and hopefully making a charge for the top 10. You'll see a lot of cars coming into the pit lane now, especially those who started on the softer compound tyres. But yeah, at the moment he's trying to do a job on Carlos Sainz, who looks to be pretty solid at the moment, but he's going to have DRS, a bit of slipstream, and rich revs to boot. What was that? I don't know. We're going to go up the inside of Sainz. Easy as you like. Well, it actually wasn't that easy, because the slipstream on F1 2017, thankfully enough, is not as powerful as what it was on the previous game. Yes, I can stop banging on about it, because overtaking is a little bit harder now. I think Dirty Air wasn't really... Hello.
Confirmed, we'll receive you at the end of this lap.
David's coming into the pits at the end of this lap. Sorry to interrupt you there, Jeff. It's first for everything. I get to interrupt him. But yeah, Dirty Air wasn't really a thing on F1 2016. The slipstream was too powerful, and I think they've made the balance just a little bit better this year. So racing, overtaking should be a little bit more natural, hopefully, in this year's release of the game. Into the pits now for our one and only stop, and have a listen to the audio of the stop here, because they made some adjustments to the rattle guns, and they sound really nice, just like real life. Pretty hard to tell, but you will hear it if you play the game a lot. The pit stops do sound a little bit more authentic, but we missed one vital detail. You now have manual starts in the pit lane. You can see that you have to engage the clutch and then build your revs, and then once the green light goes out at the top of the screen, away you go. And even Greco is struggling a little bit with the functionality of that feature. That was actually a really line ball feature as to whether it was going to make F1 2017 or not, and I'm really glad that Cody's pushed the envelope and actually made it a thing for this game, because it could have very well easily been scrapped, but it still looks like it needs maybe a little bit more work, or maybe it's just a little bit too hard to be flowing. How to absolutely nail getting out of the pit lane as quickly as you can. Kevin Magnussen is out of the Grand Prix. I think Nico Hülkenberg will be pretty happy about that news, but I've been talking for a bit, losing my voice a little, so I'll let you guys enjoy this cheeky little battle here with Carlos Sainz. So you rejoin the action now on lap number 17. Lewis Hamilton set the previous fastest lap of the race, and now that Greco has the soft compound tyres on, he's going to be putting in some pretty worldly times himself. So this will be a really good comparison to see how much slower the Renault is versus the Mercedes. It's 3 seconds. So that is pretty crazy. The world's one of the best people on F1 2017 is still 3 seconds slower than the ultimate AI of Lewis Hamilton in the Mercedes. If he can't beat Lewis, then I don't know who can. I'm pretty sure he's running without a setup as well, so yeah, if you want to be competitive against the AI, especially on a harder difficulty, setups are needed. This was just a fastest lap attempt by David here. Goes and sets a personal best, 133.4. I don't know if you noticed there, but while David was going through 130R and even coming into turn 1, you'll notice that the car starts scraping along on the road. So the barge boards and just the floor of the car just make a little scuffing noise as load goes through the front of the car, and especially at high speeds when the downforce is going to be really pushing the car towards the ground. So that's a really cool feature that hasn't been in the F1 game so far. So it's really good to see these little subtleties making it into the game for this year's release. It does really prove that Codys are coming a long way, and they're really starting to add that much needed polish that has been lacking in previous F1 titles. But in terms of this race now, it's just got 6 laps to go now. It looks like David is really going to have to fight for it to get a place inside the points today. His tyre wear is at 25%, and his engine is sitting around just under 10%. So even with just one race, that does take a fair old knock in terms of the engine lifespan and performance. So yeah, when it comes to a career mode, you will be changing out those parts every few races, especially if you're doing longer ones or if you're really abusing your car, let's say. That's a bit of a mistake there from David, going through the fast left-hander at the end of the first sector, and that puts him under pressure now because Carlos Sainz is going to be challenging him here. David is really trying to give the car a hurry up. He's probably oh wow, he's been given a hit by Sainz. Now they're running side by side into the hairpin. David decides to let the place go. Sainz absolutely parks it on the apex, leaves the door open, and David Greco gets the spot back from Carlos Sainz. But it must be said that battle has really cost him in terms of his chances of finishing inside the top 10 for this Grand Prix. Here comes Sainz again, round the outside into 130R. Please, make the move stick. Carlos Sainz, no, he backs out of it. My goal, my dream one day is for the AI to still stick with it and go for the overtake.
Okay, some information on Van Dorn. They're retiring from the race.
But unfortunately with the build of the game, I don't think they're quite at that level yet. One day though, I really hope the AI can be, at a really aggressive level to the point where it's hard to tell what's online and what's single player AI. But again, another mistake from David. I think he recognizes, with so few laps to go, he really needs to push if he wants to get in the points. But unfortunately, these mistakes are really unraveling his progress in trying to get there. And it's just inviting Sainz back into the party through turn 1 again. And David's really strong here. He's really strong in the high speed stuff. But it's just those small mistakes that are really costing him. And Sainz, being an AI, he's not really making too many mistakes. He goes for a move up the inside. Bit of contact through 130R, if you don't mind. But they somehow both survive. How did they do that? Absolutely incredible. He still holds on to the position, and Sainz is looking in every direction to try and find this spot, which is going to deliver him 0 points, might I add. But they're fighting for it nonetheless. Look at this. There's like 4 cars in this train in the mirrors. David is really under pressure from the AI. Doesn't crack and stays in P11 for the moment. We're going to stay on board now as it's the final lap of the Grand Prix. Just watch through here. David is just buttery smooth with the controls with the wheel. But it's the slower speed stuff where he seems to struggle. Losing the back end, traction seems to be a little bit limited at some points, even though the tyres haven't really gone off too much. Yeah, just those tiny mistakes that are really costing him through the first Degner, second Degner, all fairly clean there. A little bit of a loss of the back end. Nothing that he can't handle though. Into the hairpin. Will Sainz go for the move? No, he's too far back. Valtteri Bottas wins the Japanese Grand Prix. And he's won it by quite a margin. Back to David, who, like I said, he's not a slouch by any means, but in a Renault, in a car that should be a top 10 car, he is a long way off the pace with a stock setup, ultimate AI, and a 50% race. So, yeah, it looks like he's going to hold on to the position. I think he's made some gains on Sainz, who has dropped off ever so slightly. So, as long as he doesn't make a major mistake into the final chicane, this should be David's position for the taking. Really cruel, isn't it, when he drives so well, and he has for the entirety of this race in a Renault, doesn't get any points. But it was a solid effort nonetheless. 11th place.
A great win then for the Mercedes team today. So, Ant, how exactly did they set themselves apart from the pack today?
The difference was clearly in the strategy. You could tell they'd done a lot of work on the pit wall to really optimise each stint and get the most out of the tyres. And it highlights just how much of a team sport this really is. But credit to the driver as well though. There's no good having a well-oiled machine behind the scenes without a talented hand on the wheel, of course.
And here are our podium drivers today after that excellent race. They've excelled here, as they so often do, and it's a well-deserved victory. Mercedes, then, are on top today.
So there we go, guys. That has been the first gameplay video of F1 2017. And as you can see there, the podium celebrations have been modified ever so slightly. You get some new camera angles, which is really refreshing to see. And as always, the driver faces continue to improve year on year. But that has been the Grand Prix. David Greco gets 11th place, driving as Jolyon Palmer. It doesn't matter who pilots that second Renault. Jolyon Palmer just always ends up in 11th place. But that has been this video for today, guys. Hopefully you have enjoyed. If you did, make sure you smash your like button. That would really help me out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. There's plenty more F1 2017 videos. I will be having a lot of them in the next week or two, because like I said, I went to a capture event and I got hours and hours of footage for you guys to upload to my channel in the future. So stay tuned for that. Until my next video, guys, I'll see you next time.